guys, so long time no see. Unfortunately the past like week and a bit I have been very ill with a sinus infection and the flu. I had a fever for about 4 days and was on antibiotics and couldn't really film because I couldn't really talk for a while. So if you follow me on Twitter, I did post about that and talk about how I was kind of frustrated because I couldn't film anything. But yeah, so I am back, and I thought I would start off again with a batch review. So the first thing that I read was Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I read this for the I Like Big Books reading group on Goodreads. There's always a link in the description down below for that. I run that, and we generally try and read books that are 500 pages plus every 2 months. So Anna Karenina was our December-January read. I'm gonna put this down because this is really heavy. And I enjoyed it. I gave it about 4 stars on Goodreads. I did struggle with it a bit, especially Anna and, oh god, Vronsky's story. I was blanking on that. I wanted to say Lenin, but I loved Lenin and Kitty's story, but I found Anna and Vronsky's story to be very slow. I'm just gonna say that. Sorry, I'm just gonna move the camera a bit because I'm realizing I'm not quite in shot. Yeah, so that, it took me a while to get through. I think it took me the better part of the month. And I found reading it, I didn't read other things while reading it. I kind of just focused on that, and that meant that my reading time slowed down. I really didn't read a lot in December. But following that, I also finished James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room. I gave this 3 stars on Goodreads. I think reading this right after Anna Karenina, I was a little overdone on reading about self-destructive people. David as a main character is interesting. I did enjoy the story in theory, but I found his lack of like sympathy towards Giovanni to be frustrating. Like, you find out in the first couple pages that Giovanni is being condemned to death for murder, and this is David's lover and somebody who made him feel things that like he's never felt before, and he was like really close with him, and there's almost no like upset over it, which kind of turned me off a little bit. But I did enjoy that. It was my first Baldwin that I've ever read, so that was exciting. And then on Christmas Eve, keeping in the Christmas spirit, I read Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange. I loved this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I found this hard to get into. The first time I tried to read this, I actually set it aside after reading the first page. The language is very difficult. Mostly because it's a bunch of made up slang, but just kind of go with it would be my advice, and then you eventually get into it and you end up loving it. This is really messed up. It deals with hyperviolence, it deals with rape, it deals with like gang culture and the question of, is somebody a human if they're taken away the right to like choose between good and evil? Does that make them still human? So really good. You know, I read this on Christmas Eve when the rest of my family went to church. We both read moral things. To those of you who don't know, I'm an atheist and I'm in a family of like Protestants, so they always go to church and I sit by the fire to, you know, prepare myself for hell. The next one I read was Haruki Murakami's The Strange Library. This is the second Murakami I've read, the first one being 1Q84. I really did not enjoy 1Q84. I hated it. I read it when I was in Japan, and I found the pedophilia really problematic for me, especially because I was surrounded by like a lot of porn in Japan. Literally every single store I would go into had porn of some kind, and porn like with children in it, and it was all animated, so that makes it quote-unquote okay according to their standards. But yeah, I was kind of tied up with all my issues about my visit to Japan and my issues with pedophilia, which if you don't have issues with pedophilia, maybe get that checked out. But The Strange Library is very different. I decided to give him another chance. The translator for this, Ted Gosson, is actually a professor at my university, and my friend was taking a course with him. This is apparently quite different from the rest of Murakami's works. I quite enjoyed it. It was very magical realism, very kind of weird. I don't really want to say too much to give away like the story, but I would recommend this. It was really short. I finished this very quickly. I think I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars. And then the next one is Herman Hesse's Siddhartha. I think I'm pronouncing that correct. This is part of the Penguin Dropcap series. As I mentioned in my last video, which was a haul, I'm trying to work my way through the Dropcap series, and now I have read A through H. I really enjoyed this. This was a really quick read. I read this over the course of a morning. The font size is, you know, average, but it's a pretty short book. This looks at the main character, Siddhartha, is trying to find enlightenment, and so he goes through a bunch of different like paths. He does like an ascetic path, he meets Buddha, and he tries to find enlightenment on his own terms. I thought it was really interesting. This is the first bit of writing that I've read that's been like Buddhist based. I don't really quite know how to phrase that. And I really enjoyed it. It gave me hopefully a bit of insight. I don't know how accurate this is. I know Hesse is a German, and I'm probably mispronouncing his name, which I'm sure my friend who is actually German will correct me and make fun of me for this in an email as soon as this goes live. But yes, I did enjoy this quite a bit. So that is my batch reviews. I'm gonna cut this video a little short because my throat is getting scratchy. I find that when I talk a lot, which means I start coughing. So I will hopefully see you guys next week with another video. Bye.